Right, welcome back to Finn versus History. I'm with Horatio Gould,
Hello.
as ever, and this is part 2 of our series on the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yep.
To get you back up to speed, Kennedy is the horniest man in the world.
Khrushchev's the ugliest man
The
at the
ugliest
time.
man that's ever lived.
Yeah, at that time. There's other Russian presidents
There are
coming
new
later.
depths to sink to.
Yeah.
Brezhnev is hot on his heels.
Yeah. There's guys being kept in nuclear submarines they're not bringing up until they need to.
Until they're deemed ugly enough to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until America strikes first, they're not going to launch their ugliest guys out of the submarines.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gorbachev's in a submarine at the moment.
He's in a submarine and someone's cracking an egg on top of his head. Because he's what they call their second strike policy.
Yeah.
Because you need to have... An ugly person needs to come up.
Yeah.
But then you need to be able to send an ugly person.
But at this stage, they still think they can negotiate with America. I think they're only bringing out Gorbachev when negotiations have failed.
Yes.
And it's like, well, we're going to have to bring out the ugliest guy we've got.
Yeah.
You know?
So basically...
Because it's an act of wanton aggression to bring Gorbachev out straight away.
That's too much.
Yeah.
It's actually a war crime for him to take
History won't reflect on you well if you brought up Gorbachev without being provoked.
If you put Gorbachev in a room and took his hat off, you're guilty of war crimes. So if this is the first episode you've listened to, stop, go back, because it turns out Russia won the Cold War because what was at stake was actually who was ugliest.
Well, history is, you can look at it from a million different perspectives.
History's written by the uglies. That's that famous saying, isn't it? History's written by the uggos.
But no, history's written by the hot people. That's why we're sold as the Cold War being a victory to the hotties.
Yes, exactly.
But it was actually, if you...
So are you saying the fit guys won the Cold War?
No. I'm saying that they sold it as them winning it.
Yes, because people listen to them because they're not horribly ugly.
Well, they said because the Soviet Union collapsed and capitalism became the world system, they said they won.
Yeah.
But actually, the project was to find the ugliest guy in the world.
Yes, from the Soviets, they were like, well, we found the ugliest people, so, I mean, we won.
They packed up and left because they'd already done what they'd set out to do.
Yeah, they unveiled Gorbachev and went, there is nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
He's got an egg on his head. Where else can you possibly go than a man with an egg on his head?
And that's when they were just like, bring the wall down.
Bring it down.
What's
Mr.
the point?
Gorbachev, bring this wall down. Because the wall was actually there to stop people from seeing Mikhail Gorbachev's face.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like the guys who queue up outside to get an iPhone. They got the iPhone. Yeah. They don't need to be camping there anymore. They can go home.
There he is. My God. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I do think Brezhnev's pushed it in.
Let's get Brezhnev up, because I think Brezhnev...
Get it side by side.
Brezhnev has a consistency to his face that I think...
The thing with Brezhnev is, right, I just zoom in on Brezhnev. I imagine, and this might be because
that's an AI image.
That's an AI image. There's what's the image on the Berlin Wall of? Is it Brezhnev kissing someone?
Yeah, Brezhnev kissing. Is it American?
Do you know what
leader?
I mean, or is it the leader of the GDR? There's an image on the Berlin Wall of two old guys kissing.
Can we get that up? That's a great.
Which is actually my desktop
there
background.
It is, yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Is that the head of the Honecker or someone? Walter Honecker.
I don't know who that is, but anyway, I feel like when Brezhnev goes to speak, scrambled eggs fall out. He's just got that kind of lots of folds in the neck.
Yeah.
Look at him. Sir, what would you like for... Just eggs just spill out.
And then he goes, 1 second, he goes to his pocket. And then just spaghetti bolognese.
Exactly.
And he's like, he goes inside of his
yeah. It's just, I'll just get my wallet. And it's just basically an entire... Who's that? There.
That's Gorbachev.
Wow, okay. That looks like the crazy frog. Okay.
I don't know. I think Brezhnev also has those Eugene Levy eyebrows, which I think carry him a lot.
Brezhnev does look a bit American Pie.
I feel he's put those eyebrows on to try and distract from how ugly he is.
Yeah. It's just
what it is. It's a sneak attack. You can't go in with, as we found out from the Cuban Missile Crisis, you can't go in carrying a missile. No. You've got to wrap it in a big rug.
It doesn't. Doesn't even...
No, don't worry, we're just carpenters.
No,
all right, there's not a missile in there. No, we're just...
Oh, please, my friend, it's very good missile. Very good. Good price.
Yeah.
So that's Gorbachev actually getting off. Charlie, what was that?
Now, interesting enough, is that before or after the graffiti?
Yeah.
Did he see the graffiti and think, well, I wouldn't mind a bit of that?
Yeah, because that's got to be one of the ugliest kisses I've ever seen. That's Gorbachev getting off with
But that's how they used to kiss in 1940s Hollywood films. Have you noticed how the kiss changes in Hollywood? Because it started, basically you move your mouth less the further back you go. Like now it's like very passionate. The mouth's moving a lot. There's a lot of tongue.
Yeah.
But back then, like Humphrey Bogart, if you think about him in like Casablanca. Hey, Dow, here's me looking at you, kid.
Yeah.
And then you go like this, freeze completely, and you go...
Yes.
You just headbutt
that's
them.
How,
go Humphrey Bogart kiss.
But that's how I think you should kiss your child. That's how a man...
you completely freeze up.
That's how a man kisses that's how a father...
Oh, a real man, yeah. So the Bogart kiss is you get a stroke, you're completely frozen, and then you headbutt the woman as hard as possible. No, let's go the actual kiss, because he mushes the face in as much as possible. Yeah.
Oh, that's it, yeah. Just squash the face.
There's a squash,
because he's obviously gay, so he's going... He's just going to squash this face.
He's swallowing sick as he does it. What were we talking about?
Well, we're actually talking about Brezhnev throwing up scrambled eggs whenever he goes to his mouth, because that's how ugly it is.
At this point, Brezhnev's only in the cabinet,
and one of those bits of egg lands on Gorbachev's head. and then Gorbachev's on a beach.
And as we talked about, now in the NHS, when you're checking for testicular cancer, they have got they've replaced. It's supposed to different images of like stage 3 cancer, whatever. They have just got chronologically the Soviet premieres post World War II.
Yeah.
Right? So it starts with Stalin, right?
Fine.
And then
clean bill of health.
And then Khrushchev, right? There's something going on.
Go to a doctor.
Then Brezhnev.
Okay,
this is serious. Gorbachev, you're dead.
Stage 4. You've got 3 months to live. Fill out your affairs. Yeah. So America have elected. They've decided to stop electing uggos and elect the horniest man that's ever lived. He can't. That's why he sounds like that, because he's. Meanwhile, on the Russian side, they've elected a scale of testicular disfigurement.
But it was different systems dealing with problems in a different way.
2 different systems. 2 very different outlooks.
Yeah.
Different economies.
Yeah. It's a bipolar
world. Yeah. And there are a lot of smaller countries who are like, we don't really want any part of this.
Yeah.
But America was like, you're either hot or you're not.
Yes.
And Russia was like, you're either a warning sign for testicular issues or not.
Yeah, because Cuba wanted to be part of the non-aligned
third world countries.
Forums.
Basically, all the third world countries were like, you're both
guys
fucking
are
mental.
Weirdos.
You're weirdos.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah.
And then America would just start attacking them, I think.
Well, America just had it was sort of like a racist dad here who kind of thinks everyone's foreign, who's not from here. You know, you're all from Bongo land if you're not from Britain.
So you're talking to me?
Yeah. But with them, it's like, well, you're probably Russian. Just anyone who's not,
you're Russian then. Yeah.
If you're not wearing blue jeans, you are Russian.
You're Russian, yeah. So, and we ended the last episode with Khrushchev spots an opportunity in American-Cuban relations,
because Castro and Kennedy both have a face full of muff and haven't come up for air. They haven't come up for air
for days. And so Khrushchev goes, I'm going to put some missiles on Cuba, and he hires a bunch of pointless contestants, buses them down from York. Hi, I'm Neil, and I'm a window cleaner from Ripon.
Window licker? No,
window cleaner.
All right.
Alexander Armstrong goes, oh, that sounds nice.
Have you watched it recently?
What have you got there? Is that an intercontinental ballistic missile? Have I watched it recently? I used to do the warm-up for it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, I was telling people about the stories about Alexander Armstrong, but watching it now, he has a 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
It's
they've been doing it for 10, 10 15 years.
But it's complete autopilot.
Yeah.
It is a Tesla self-driving car.
They have, Richard Osman wears jeans.
Oh, right.
So he used to, when I started doing it, he wore a suit. And then about 3 years later, he was like, I don't need to do this. I could just be naked from the lower half. No one sees the bottom half.
Now that is a good bit of trivia right there.
Yeah, it's pretty good trivia. That should be on Pointless as a question.
That's a dinner party trivia.
What is Richard wearing below the desk?
At what point did Richard Osman start wearing jeans on Pointless?
And at what point will he start just wearing trousers altogether?
But I don't think Armstrong has... Because he seems like he's like on speed or something, because he's just completely erratic looking on the show. I don't know. Does he have any idea what he's saying, or is his head somewhere else?
If you were interacting with the most boring, middle-aged people this country has to offer.
Yeah.
4 times a day.
Well, they've won a competition with who's the most boring
to be on the show.
They've gone through a
checklist, a sieve of boring, where only the most boring get through.
Now, who's more boring, the people on the show or the people who watch the show live?
The people who watch the show are trying to get on the show, so they're their boring heroes.
Yes, yeah.
And he's talking to them, and they say something boring, and he goes, "That sounds nice."
Yeah,
and that's his job.
Yeah,
so of course he's got 1,000 yards there.
But I don't think he would remember the last 1,000 episodes, anything that happened, because in his head, what's he doing in his head? Is it that, or is it?
He's just watching Monkey with cymbals. Ding ding diddle ding. Anyway, the pointless contestants are useful in putting missiles on Cuba.
Yep.
Anyway, the US are flying spy flights.
Well, you said that there's something about when he first finds out about the missiles.
Yeah. So, well, no, it's Robert McNamara, who's the foreign secretary.
Sounds like a football player.
Yeah.
From the 70s.
From Celtic or something. Yeah. Now, is it him or is it someone else? One of Kennedy... Firstly, Kennedy's fucking like an intern called Mimi, who's like 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what he calls her? Mimi, or is that her name?
Mimi now. Mimi, that's what he calls his own dick. Mimi now. Mimi. Hey, I'm horny. Mimi. Ask not what you can do, but who you can fuck now. Yeah, right. So, he takes an 18-year-old intern's virginity. It's like Lewinsky on steroids, right?
What? So, was she just trying to do... Man the phones.
She's just trying to do paperwork, and he's like,
Christ.
But he has 2 secretaries whose sole job is to suck off one of the other cabinet members at a pool party.
Really?
Yeah. He's insane.
So but just because he thinks he needs to loosen up a bit.
Yeah. He's like, this guy's not thinking clearly enough. Empty his balls now. I need complete clarity of thought around this Oval Office.
Well, it's sort of like Mad Men, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Just all the women are getting...
Exactly. Yeah. So, and what was my point?
It's pre-Me Too, isn't it, this?
Very pre-Me Too. Several ages before Me Too. Yeah.
It was a couple of weeks before Me Too, I think.
Yeah. Kennedy's head exploded at the right time.
Yeah.
If he'd lived any longer, he would have been...
Do you know what? He would have hated it now.
He would have hated it now. He would be sitting here going, do you know what? Blow my head to shit. Put me in a car and blow my head off.
And to be honest, I mean, you could argue, Clinton's born in the wrong era.
Clinton should have been in Kennedy's cabinet. He should have been number 2.
We all miss, you were meant to be born in the 1950s or the British Raj. That's when you were...
British Raj when I would have been happiest, I think.
And you're stuck in 2024.
Fucking hell, I hate it.
Yeah.
2025.
2025, fucking hell.
Can you imagine Clinton and Kennedy as a ticket? Women running scared. The entire Oval Office would be like a Benny Hill theme.
What, they got a net?
I could not have relations. He's on the saxophone.
I did not have sexual relations with that.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So, Kennedy, what was my point?
Your point was about the night.
Oh, the night. One of the, maybe it's he's called McGeorge Bundy.
Okay,
or McBundy George.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's got a stupid name, Mac.
Yeah, he sounds like a new item at McDonald's.
Yeah, the McBundy George. He finds out, or someone from the CIA finds out that the photos, the YouTube, the nudes have leaked.
Yeah.
The leaked nudes of the pointless
Bevo's
contestants.
sex tape
Bevo's
dropped.
sex tape. It's dropped at Cuba. And he's like, oh my God, the president's got to see this. Bevo. Bevo's got a sex tape. Does he come weird as well?
Right. Launch the nukes.
You've seen Bevo's sex tape.
But fucking Charlie forced me to watch it.
When he comes, does he go...
Yeah, Charlie, what do you think
his face is hidden throughout the video.
Oh, so you don't notice him?
You can only see his cock.
So you don't notice him?
You do, no, because you can hear him. He says...
He knows...
He says, you know the rules.
Very well, apparently.
You can hear him. When he comes, he says, now you know the rules.
Now, what are the rules? What are the rules?
Sorry. This is something he says when he has dinner, and that's the same thing he says when he comes. So that's like me going, yum yum, after I've yum yum in my tum tum. Oh, that was a big one. Oh, big feed today. After I've just...
He's not the highest IQ individual.
No.
You only have 3 or 4 things you can remember at once in that brain.
He's also not the best. I'd say he's probably in the running to be Soviet premier in 1980.
To be honest, if it was Cold War, I think Britain would have to use...
Bevo.
Have to help...
He's the only man weird looking enough. Well, Thatcher's not. I wouldn't say Thatcher's hot stuff.
No. Yeah. Even though I was listening to this book, Killing Thatcher, and they were talking about her like she was quite an elegant-looking woman. I thought she was considered quite unattractive, but maybe not.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I think remember it was Britain in the 80s.
She looks. I'll say she looks a bit like Brezhnev with a big wig on.
But there's a chance that she's the most attractive woman in Britain at that time. From the pictures I'm seeing.
Yeah, we're not seeing anyone else from that time. Maybe Thatcher was an absolute babe.
Yeah, she won. She won like Miss UK.
What?
She won Miss UK before becoming the Conservative leader. Thatcher. No, of course.
Sorry. This podcast
already
has
in the
confused
bin.
Blake in my brain.
But
you said that so sincerely.
But Charlie, you said you had a shameful erection during the Bevo sex tape, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to get it up.
Sorry, what? Get what up? I don't think
there's one with him with this Mexican teen, and I got a kind of involuntary.
Listen. I think that's quite a Listen, the only way it's relevant.
She was at least 18.
Finn versus sex tapes.
The only way it's relevant is because Bevo's essentially JFK in this story, and the Mexican teen is a Cuban.
But sorry, just
I got a boner.
Sorry to dwell on the Bevo sex tape.
You had a missile crisis. Hang on. Yeah. So there's the Cuban Missile Crisis and there's Charlie's Missile Crisis.
Yeah. Which is a separate episode.
But it's still about a Latino. Yeah, maybe that. Yeah. So maybe that's a Patreon.
Yeah. So if the Cuban Missile Crisis was a porn video, what would the title be? Would it be like
Russian guy comes his pants before American slut finishes herself off, and Cuban guy watches in the wardrobe.
Cuban cock watches from the wardrobe.
That's it. Cuban cock watches Russian guy.
But when Bevo, sorry to dwell.
Sorry, can we just get back to the serious issue here? Bevo.
When he comes and says, "Now you know the rules," I feel I don't know the rules.
No, because I thought the rules were you were going to eat your dinner, and now you've just come, and I'm thinking, what game am I playing?
I feel like you've confused the rules there,
What are the rules of this game?
Yeah, because now next time you're swallowing and you're saying, now you know the rules, I'm like,
what are you swallowing?
Am I tossing you off?
Are you wanking underneath the table while you're eating your dinner? Because JFK is, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, Bevo, very inconsistent with the rules.
Anyway, but this is my point. Yeah. Christ. So... whatever his name is, the Secretary of State for getting noshed off by a pool.
McChickenburger. The McLegend.
The McBoy.
Yeah. So McRib, McLegend.
the McFlurry guy. Charlie, do not put Pornhub on.
Charlie, this is a workplace.
That's an HR issue. put Bevo's sex
Horny
tape
Roger.
down.
Yeah. That's what we got, a horny guy.
Right. So JFK is whatever his name is, the Chicken McRib. Finds the surveillance photos from the CIA, and he goes to tell Kennedy. And this is on look, because there's a gap, right? Yeah. Spy plane photographs Soviet missile sites on October the 14th. Yeah. It gets to McChicken on October the 15th, right? October the 16th, JFK is informed, right? Do you know why he didn't be told that night? Because he was literally having sex with a prostitute in the White House.
So it's sort of like, you know when Stalin died and the guards wouldn't go in because they were scared for 3 days? Cause it was kind of like that.
Literally.
They were scared, but for 3 days.
McRib is outside the door being like, Mr. President. He's
Mr.
like,
President.
And he goes, Mr. President, there's some really worrying news from Cuba. I'm worried. Mr. President, please. And he's
and McRib is with McLegend. Yeah. And they're both saying, well, he'll finish soon.
Yeah, he'll finish soon.
We'll just sit and wait outside.
Yeah.
And they think he's done, but then 6 more girls go in. Yeah. And they're like,
No, and then there's that photo of one of them whispering in the other one's ear, a second girl has just got in. And he's just staring there going, oh, it's going to be a really long night. So anyway, so JFK gets informed the following morning when...
I was like, why didn't you tell me this?
Why didn't you tell me? It's like, you were literally fucking 7 women all night. So JFK, the only time they can actually tell him anything is when his balls are literally empty.
JFK also was very paranoid because he was scared that he might have actually accidentally fucked his wife.
Yeah.
And that's like, at the moment...
Which, the amount of women he was fucking, like a stopped clock, he will eventually have sex with his own wife.
But he was literally like, for a second there...
You worried me.
Because one of the girls looked like his wife.
Yeah.
Well, also, for a second I thought I didn't cheat on my wife.
I've got some worrying photos. Is that a photo of my wife naked? I do not want to see that. That's the last thing I want to see. Even though his wife was like mega fit.
Yeah, but it's his wife. He's cheating.
Yes.
As long as it's cheating.
So all the girls are ugly.
Yeah.
They're horrible. They're Russian girls.
His dad at
Russian
the
premiers.
dinner table would say, literally would just be like, real men cheat on their wives. And his mum would be sitting there in, hello,
okay.
Yeah. And he'd be like, right, well, I'll pick you up after practice. I'm going to go cheat on your mum for like a couple of hours. You know, that was just, he was raised on it.
Right.
You know?
So anyway, so he's getting his end away, and then the next morning, McChicken tells... McChicken tells him about the worrying photos of the pointless contestants.
Yeah.
And Kennedy's like, what the fuck's pointless?
Yeah.
'Cause he watches the chase, you see.
He's a Bradley Walsh guy.
He's a Bradley Walsh guy. Then he informs the missile site. So this is October the 16th.
Yeah.
This is when the crisis begins.
And also, they don't have a direct line at this point. They do it afterwards. Afterwards, they decide that maybe the two leaders should call each other directly. At this point, it's Chinese accent whispers.
And it's like Chinese accent whispers.
Yeah. Because all of the information
That's a very different game.
All of the information in the most tense time the world's maybe ever been to getting close to being destroyed is, strangely enough, being delivered via Chinese whispers, but they have to do it in progressively more racist Chinese accents.
Yes.
So that's why there's so much confusion going on, because when it comes back to Khrushchev,
it's like fucking hell, mate, really? I've got to go further than that. You did the teeth. How am I getting further than that?
It's getting unbelievable.
My God.
This is why it took 10 days.
If Chairman Mao's going to hear this, I'm fucked on Mao.
Well, at one point he thinks it is Mao.
Yeah.
And then he realises it's one of his... Brezhnev, for fuck's
sake, man.
I thought that was Chairman Mao.
How did eggs come out in a Chinese accent? Is that egg fried rice coming out of your mouth?
God. Right. So,
okay.
it's...
So
I mean, this is the closest the world ever got to exploding, and it was just...
Yeah, so anyway... Well, not yet. Not yet, it isn't.
Around this time, though.
Well, in a week. Don't give it away.
I'm sorry.
Fucking hell. Right, so JFK gets informed of the missile sites, and he then gets a bunch of the boys. He gets McChicken, he gets a large fries, he gets chocolate milkshake and a McFlurry round the table.
Yeah.
And he calls this excom,
Yeah.
Executive Committee of the National Security Council.
Right. And
he's got options, right? Now, the first option, which is his favourite, is forget about the whole thing and go back to fucking... go back and fuck another woman.
He's like, right, motion character. Nah, we've got it. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, and voting once, twice. Okay, sold. I'm gonna go back to bed.
And his trousers are down his ankles already.
Trousers immediately fall down. Right, who's next?
Running?
Yeah, who's next?
It's got so bad that Fillet of Fish has had to toss him off just to keep him at the table. Just to keep him there for 10 minutes.
Fillet of Fish is the one-woman minister. They call her Fillet of Fish. Do you say fillet or fillet?
It probably is fillet, isn't it?
I think I say fillet.
It probably is that.
But it's not as if it's filet McMignon, is it?
Yeah, I guess with a fillet of fish, I think you drop the French.
Fillet.
There's no point.
Fillet. It's a horrible word.
Wait, would you ever get a fillet of fish at McDonald's?
I fancy a fillet.
I always think it's a huge red flag if you're at McDonald's, someone gets a fillet of fish.
My old housemate used to always get the chicken because he said it's the one thing they can fuck up and give me food poisoning, and then I can sue them, and that's my out.
Wow, I mean that's a cheap guy, isn't
that's
it?
my out. He said I don't have to work.
Does he have any other jobs?
He does now.
Okay,
but his plan was I don't want to work. My plan is I'm going to keep buying chicken from McDonald's, and at one point they're going to, because you fuck chicken up, it's food poisoning. You can't really get it from beef, right? So you fuck chicken up, and then I sue McDonald's, and that's my retirement.
Could you? How much do you think you could actually sue them for a lot if you get food poisoning?
Probably.
I mean, that's
but
amazing.
I also think it's such a tight ship. I mean, it's not even really... You see the machines in there. It's not really cooking, is it? It's like 3D printing.
Yeah.
Burgers.
Yeah.
So I think they're completely safe.
That's amazing. And what's his job now? Do you know?
He's an accountant for the Pleasance.
What point did he pack it in, do you think?
The fillet of fish sandwich from McDonald's is made from wild-caught Alaskan pollock.
I prefer my meat 3D printed than my fish for some reason.
Fish 3D printed is just too much, I think. Anyway.
I think it's the classiest possible order.
But then you're at McDonald's.
Yeah, but you try to make it
you're
classy.
watching you're getting an erection watching Bevo's sex tape. So I'm not taking lessons on class from this guy. Right, get the Cuban missile, not Charlie's missile crisis. Get Cuban missile crisis. Right. So he gets this old McDonald's order around the table. And he goes, right, first thing...
Fillet of Fish is tossing him off to keep him focused.
Right, are we having it in or are we taking it away? What are we doing, lads?
And
so there are several options.
But then they call the wrong guy, and it comes back to him. Well, Khrushchev hears in a Chinese accent, 2 fries, 1 large Coke.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Khrushchev's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck are we talking about?
Anyway, so there's several options he can do.
Yeah.
Right? He can obviously just wait till the whole thing blows over and go get sucked off by someone.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do. He can either just invade, go whole hog and go fuck it, invade. He can impose an embargo. There is already an embargo, isn't there? We missed that last time.
There's a trade embargo.
Oh, who cares?
But the trade embargo was as soon as they became communists. It was a trade embargo. And that's why they only have
2 things in the shop.
Cigars
and bread.
They don't have bread, actually.
Oh, really?
They have the Cuban cars.
Cigars and cars.
That's it.
That's it.
So it's getting quite hungry.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't light the cigars because they haven't got any lighters for it.
Lighters, the embargo on that.
So, but at least the cars bounce. Hey, ese, cabrón.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's several options he can do, but and it should be stressed that all the McRib and McChicken and those boys, they're like fuck invent, go for it. This is it. They're so hawkish. They're like
very hawkish, and also these are like
missiles. Let's do
old. Kennedy's quite young to be in this, very young to be in this position. All of these guys are like proper war vets. It's the generals, right?
Yeah.
It's the
same
the short
generation.
back and sides. It's
the same generation.
Best posture you've ever seen.
They've got rid of the McCarthyists. And they hate communists. They're also the same lot that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. They're like, let's fucking go again, boys.
And they're kind of calling Kennedy a pussy. They're playing grab ass. Like, fucking come on,
mate. They're like tickling his balls. He's like, yeah, Anyway,
yeah, so they're really big timing.
But Kennedy, because he has post-nut clarity,
yes,
and the rest of them, and he's like seeing the Matrix. He's like thinking he's playing 4D chess in the sky. It's like for the 3 minutes that he's not being ranked off.
Yeah.
Kennedy, right? These are the generals, are they, Charlie? Right.
Look, that's my order when I go through a drive-thru.
So chocolate milkshake, Big Mac meal, large fries, 6 chicken selects with a barbecue dip, and that's Kennedy in the middle. Anyway, so get back to the timeline. Yeah. So Kennedy, because he's seeing the Matrix, he's got post-nut clarity. Yep. He decides that the rational thing to do is to do a naval blockade, which is an act of war, but he calls it a quarantine.
Right.
Which is not an act of war.
But also Russian ships are in the area.
They're on the way delivering missiles.
Yes, so now it's like an active confrontation between America and Russia. Which
him and the McDonald's order have set things in motion.
Yeah.
And he then addresses the American public on the 22nd of October.
Right.
And so then it's like, now we're set up. Now we're playing chess, right? Because now Russians are on their way, and the Americans don't know if the Russians are bringing. I think the Americans maybe think that the Russians have missiles but not warheads, because they're thinking they're the same missiles that got sold to them by the Turks. So they just roll up rugs with some salad and sauce in it.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like traitors. It's kind of like a game of bluff, right? They're kind of the whole nuclear thing is. Are you going to blow up the world? Yeah, I would do. Yeah, I would do. If you push me on that. It's also like traitors, because I kind of think I would be able to work it out if I was back then.
Yeah,
because I know all the information.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? That's like in traitors, you're like, you guys are fucking idiots. They're clearly a traitor because I know he's a traitor. And here I'm like, well, yeah, I would have known exactly.
I know exactly what to do. So,
and so the navies are going to meet right in outside Cuba, right?
Yeah,
and it's. The whole thing is the Russian Navy slowly edging towards American Navy, right?
Yeah.
And it's about trying to stop the Russian ships.
And Kennedy's getting turned on because it's edging.
Yeah, he's getting edged hard.
But by the way, like the Khrushchev's generals are the same. They're like, let's just fucking go. Yeah. Let's blow them all up. And Castro's the same. And even Che Guevara, interestingly, is really pro-nuclear war, which is really not the image that you'd think.
Yeah.
But he is, because everyone just remembers him as is he Bolivian?
Is he Bolivian?
I think he's Bolivian.
Oh, Che Guevara. Sorry,
yeah.
I thought you said Fidel.
Che Guevara is Bolivian, I think.
But is it kind of like an accelerationist thing where it's just like, let's restart?
He's just like...
Let's go back to the Stone Age and rebuild.
It's worth getting rid of America so that we can all live in a socialist paradise. Yeah, he's Bolivian, right? He basically is like, basically everyone wants a nuclear war.
Yeah.
Apart from...
See, in my head, I think I wouldn't want a nuclear war, but I just don't know. If you're getting like
hyped up,
G'd up, it's like, it's the rugby lads. You do mad things on tour. You know, you'd be gurgling each other's piss, and you think you wouldn't, but it's just the peer pressure.
So Soviet ships are approaching the quarantine line.
Yeah.
But this is October 24th. So this is basically a week after the blockade. I
always think about this. So this is like 10 days, and whenever it's a timeline, they skip over these 10 days. But it was 10 days of umming and erring, back and forth.
Chinese accent whispers.
Accent whispers. I just always imagine it's like, I don't know, it's this... I can imagine how sweaty the shirt is that Kennedy's wearing. He's barely sleeping.
Well, but he never sleeps anyway. Yeah. He's fucking...
But just like whenever you're working, like when I was in uni trying to get an essay over the line and I was staying up all night, it's just like, it's the most of that feeling can possibly be, right?
You're nailing Red Bull.
Yeah, it's like it's the most stressful all-nighter of all time.
Yeah, that is what it is.
You know, the blazers came off day one.
Busting fags.
Yeah.
So... The Soviet ships approach the quarantine line.
Yeah.
They turn back. So this is So then at the UN, this is amazing because the UN at this time is like actually sort of matters.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't matter.
Now it's ceremonial.
It's basically ceremonial.
It's like the Emperor of Japan. Yeah. It's sort of like, you know, it's like a ritualistic, but it doesn't have any power. It's like a Channel 4 commissioner.
Yes. Yeah. They're basically trading off the power they had in the 90s. Yeah. So there's footage of the US ambassador to Russia and the Soviet ambassador at the UN, and the US ambassador in front of all the other UN guys from all the countries goes, "Can you confirm or deny? Do you deny that you are putting missiles in Cuba, nuclear missiles?" And everyone, literally, you hear everyone go, "Oh!"
Well, like a rap battle.
Yeah. And then the Russian guy, and then the guy goes, "Don't wait for the translation. Just fucking answer me like that." And everyone goes, "Whoa!" And the Russian guy goes, "We are not in the American court of law." And I won't like rush. I won't. It basically says, "Fuck you. There aren't any missiles." But that's happening in front of everyone. So that's on October the 25th, and this is where it starts to get important. So October 26th, Kennedy receives a letter from Khrushchev, and Khrushchev says, "We'll remove the missiles from Cuba if you pinky promise not to invade Cuba."
Yes.
Right?
But then also, does Kennedy's pitched, I think, earlier about, is the Turkey...
No, that's later.
Yeah.
So then the next day, Khrushchev sends another letter, but he makes it public, and he says, if you also remove the Bossman missirs from
the carpets
Turkey,
you have pointed at us in Turkey.
If you have those massive magic carpets pointing at us, then we will remove ours.
They shoot down U2's plane somehow. Actually, only 4 of U2 survive. What? There was actually originally 29 members of U2. Right. It was like the So Solid crew.
And then they got shot.
Well, it shot down, and the only 4 survivors of the plane was the Edge, the Bono. I don't know how many members on U2.
But it's funny how U2s are just constantly flying over Cuba, even though no one wants them. A bit like how U2 are just constantly airdropping albums into your phone. Like, you fuck off. I'm not bought consistent. This. So the second letter is made public, and it's demanding that they remove the rugs from Turkey. And then we'll get rid of the and no missiles.
One quite knows what happened with the first and second letter because it's like a weird negotiation.
Well, no, the first letter is private and the second letter is public. Yeah. And then Kennedy decides to
respond to the first one, the nicer one.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting... Because that's where it really could have changed.
But we all do that on WhatsApp. Like when someone sends you 3 messages and you go, "Oh, I'm just going to reply to the first one."
And then the passive-aggressive point... Can you respond to this, please?
What about this?
Giving this a little nudge.
And then you just, he's going. That's what Khrushchev's doing.
Giving this a nudge.
Just this.
Hey, just trying to circle back to
nudge. Just sends another email. Bump. So, but on that same day that he gets the second letter, U2's plane gets shot down. And
29
a guy
members
called
of U2
29 ranking members of U2 die.
Leaving only Bono the Edge.
Leaving only Bono the Edge and the other 2 cunts or whatever. And that's when they record The Streets Have No Name.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's also the day where the thing that really gets you hard happens.
What?
The submarine thing happens.
Yes. So
which
day?
Sorry, this is the same day the U2 plane is shot down.
Well, because a mad story that came out quite a bit later, like decades later about how actually close it was to nuclear war is America, to try and get nuclear submarines out of the water, right, were dropping depth charges to try and force the nuclear submarine to come up.
Now, what is a depth charge? Can we just...
I'm going to take I don't know, but I'm going to act like I do. Yeah. I imagine it's a charge that drops to the depth and then explodes. It's my thought off the bat with the information I know.
Yes, but then it's not an offensive weapon.
What it's trying to do, I think, is just... I guess it's trying to... Is it a signal saying...
Well, it's either a signal or is it that it forces the water up and then lifts the sub up?
What I know about the sub was on the sub, it was 50 degrees.
Yeah, so everyone's shirtless and sweating. Yeah,
and I don't know if that's because the depth charges are lifting the heat
No,
up.
it's because the submarine was meant to be an Arctic sub. Because that's all the Russians had.
So they all got big woolly hats on and stuff.
Yeah, and they put them in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So it's really hot.
They don't have any Hawaiian shirts.
It's actually incredibly gay underneath there. You've got 50 Russian blokes, topless, sweating, shoveling coal in a furnace or whatever.
But it's 50 degrees and you can't think down there. No. And it's the most important decision maybe ever.
Yeah.
It's so hot. It's illegal to be gay and there's all of these fucking sexy 50...
hot guys.
You're thinking things, you're thinking things that you've never thought before. You're having really uncomfortable sexual feelings about all of your...
Other pointless contestants.
No women down there because it's a submarine.
Submarine?
Yeah.
Famously, women aren't allowed below 30 metres in sea level.
Well, there's stuff they don't want to see down there.
International law dictates no woman can be 30 metres below sea level.
I think it's also fair that men get their own space.
Yeah, exactly. And that space is, to be fair, quite often found on land and in the air.
Yeah, I think men have rights to it's not problematic to have some male-only spaces where you can let loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, it's for the boys.
That's where those five... That billionaire, you could see the Titanic. That was all blokes, wasn't it?
Yeah. It felt like every man... He was a billionaire, but somehow every man cave he went to, eventually a woman would turn up.
What are you doing in there?
This is fucking...
It's dinner time yet?
Fuck it, he moves to another one. He's at the top of he's at the top of the fucking Himalayas. Yeah. Still how the fuck did you get here? Down to the bottom of the ocean.
Where all the ugly fish are.
Yeah. And where they found that's where they found Gorbachev. It's down there. It was during this that actually it was deep down.
Yeah. They were so deep that they went, who's that? Hang on.
And if this was a film about the Cuban Missile Crisis, that kind of big hook at the end, where you're like, okay, it's all over, is when Gorbachev's head appears under, and then you realise, Russia's still got an ace up their sleeves.
Yeah, they've got an eggy ace up their sleeve.
Yeah. So they keep dropping depth charges, trying to get them to go to the surface. I don't really understand that bit.
But they drop it near it to try and...
Yeah. Just warning them. And it's so hot down there. And so they think that they're under attack.
Yeah. And in the sub.
I mean, it's 50 degrees. You're so stressed. I mean,
you're having all these gay thoughts for the first time.
Also, they don't have the chilled out Kennedy no stress disorder, these guys. So it's really stressful. And then it seems like the captain, Zavitsky.
Valentin Zavitsky.
Considers ending the world. It's fucking mad. Considered launching the nuclear torpedo retaliation. It's sort of like, when you get slapped in the face?
Yeah.
For 3 seconds, you have some mad thoughts.
Well, it's more when you get caught up in traffic. Yeah. I always have this thing where I'm like, I'm going to get out of the car.
I'm going to
I'm going to get out of the car and walk over to him and scream in his face.
Yeah.
And I never do it, obviously, but the rage
considers launching them, which I just think is the wrong use of consider.
Okay, let's have a pros and cons list. Nuclear torpedo.
According to Soviet protocol, 3 officers on board needs to agree to authorise its use, right? So, once again, it's kind of like traitors. You got to get a majority.
The round table, yeah.
While Savitsky and the political officer agreed, Vasil Arkhipov, the submarine's second in command, refused to consent. Descent prevented... Sounds like you're saying words backwards.
Vasil Arkhipov, that's actually a KFC. That's the KFC menu. There's a bargain bucket down in the...
Descent prevented the launch, averting a potential nuke. So, one guy basically said nah. He was the only guy with a cool head. But I also think, and I don't know if we have it here, but I think there was also signalling issues. So
they couldn't get any signal down there.
Well, there was a miscommunication, but I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, that they were signalling.
Maybe you're wrong. That's not.
No chance.
No chance. I don't think so.
They were signalling to launch the nuclear torpedo.
Yeah.
But one of the guys who was on the signal, it's like a light thing, right, was just kind of
epileptic,
just fucked it, and it just didn't come across.
Well, you know what they put. So the Americans, what they had was they were like, right, so we can't have this firing accidentally, so we're going to have the code on the missiles, like on the actual missiles themselves. But obviously, if we need to launch them, we need to launch them fast. So the code's just 8 zeros in a row.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like the weakest password ever.
But also, you want to stop it happening accidentally. If you slip, you could easily because then I imagine you can't hold it down, can you?
Yeah,
you need to tap them.
Yeah,
like that.
tap them.
Yeah,
but there's also a thing when the US Navy began dropping
laptop 123.
Yeah, so the US Navy began dropping non-lethal depth charges as a signal to surface. That's what it is. It's a signal to come up.
Which I feel like, as a signal,
it's quite aggressive signal.
Yeah, a signal. Is that other ways to do? Because it's like the plane guys saying go this way, but instead you're launching bombs. Is it like when police are doing a traffic diversion?
Yeah,
they just chuck grenades,
hazing you with bullets. Not this way. This road's closed. Yeah. There's also a thing where this nearly happens in the submarine. But U2 are flying over the island and they get shot down. And then another U2 plane.
Blind and light.
Walk on.
And then the Russian guys are like,
it's really bad. Bomb them. There's a moment where a U2 plane gets like hit is flying so low that it gets hit not with a missile but with like an anti-aircraft gun by a Cuban.
Yeah.
And the pilot just about manages to get it back to its base in Florida.
Yeah.
If that plane had crashed,
we wouldn't have any of the U2's albums.
We would have none of U2's albums. Just think about that. Isn't that terrible?
Bono would have done none of his charity work.
All those Africans would still be starving.
So that was the world was on the
brink. The world was on the brink. Humanity, seconds away from never hearing.
Children in Africa held their breath as Bono nearly.
Yeah. Anyway, so but basically, because at that point Kennedy had gone, if you shoot down another plane, we're going for it. So it's only because that pilot managed to get U2's back catalogue to safety.
It does seem like Kennedy's the only guy who doesn't want nuclear war at this stage.
Well, it's because he wants to keep fucking everyone.
Yeah. It's all of these kind of like ugly autistic guys who are like, let's go. No, I'm actually having a good time.
I'm actually enjoying life. I've got 30 side pieces. I've filled my cabinet with McDonald's items.
It's these old suicidal guys who are like, well, I'm not going to live much longer. Let's just fucking end it all.
I'm ugly anyway. I'm
hot and I'm 40 and I'm president. I've got loads of time to live.
I'm fucking Marilyn Monroe.
Khrushchev is like, I'm going to die in the next 20 years.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think that's the closest it comes to actual annihilation.
And then the thing is that Khrushchev. So we know the negotiation. They respond to the first letter. The big concession. Well, you got to give Khrushchev something, right?
You got to see how does this look for the other guy. Has he got an out?
But it's true. But it's also this is what you have to do with Putin with Ukraine.
Got to give him an out.
You got to give him something that he can sell as a victory.
Yeah,
he's not going to give up otherwise.
No.
So I don't know what you could give him. What country? Do you want to give him Israel, or would that make it more of a mess?
Fucking hell. You want to give Putin Israel, see what happens?
I don't know. It's the first time. I don't know if you come up with better ideas.
I'd say something like fucking fruity, like Tajikistan or something.
Yeah. I mean, you probably could take that if you wanted it.
I don't know.
I think give him something. What about the middle of Australia? You know, the little block where no one lives?
Yeah.
That's just the state of Russia. You just got to give him something.
Yeah, you have to give him something, don't you?
Yeah. And so what Kennedy does is says, I'm going to remove the carpets from Turkey.
I'll take the carpet, but he doesn't make that public.
Yes.
So he publicly responds to the first letter, which was secret, and privately agrees to the second letter, which was public. That's what he does. Very clever. But again, he's able to have this clarity of thought because he is literally orgasming 30 times a day.
He's the only guy who's not like got balls filled with cum and just
everyone else is like, let's just fuck it.
To be honest, because he comes so much, he doesn't have that sort of psychosexual desire to explode.
Yes, like which he does in Dallas in 1963.
All of these hawkish generals haven't come for ages. They hang out with men, boys. You know, should have said boys.
Easy.
Khrushchev hasn't come
Greek
either.
Generals.
But, you know, these guys, they're so desperate. They don't realise it's because they haven't come in ages.
But they're also communists.
They're thinking, they're like, they haven't come in so long that they're like, the thought of just the big missile just... blowing up everywhere. I just don't know why. I just want to do it.
I can't stop thinking.
I don't know why. I can't.
Yeah, it's like they keep watching those films where, as a man goes into a woman, a rocket blasts off, and then they like,
and Khrushchev, because of his profound post-nut clarity, everything's in slow motion.
Kennedy, you mean?
Kennedy.
Khrushchev's got pre-nut aggression.
So I imagine it. Everything's still for Kennedy. Everything else is in slow motion. All these, McRib, McChicken burger, bullets they're all like this. There's this. And he's just completely still and has a moment.
He's just flicking the bullets away. He picks the missile up and just flicks it back to Khrushchev.
Yeah. So
October 28th, Khrushchev announces over radio in Moscow that the Soviet Union will dismantle the missile sites in Cuba.
This is like Radio 1 breakfast show in Moscow, right?
Yeah.
So this is like the Chris Moore show.
Greg James. Greg James comes on.
We've got a guest.
Morning, guys. We've got a really great guest.
Nikita Khrushchev. What you got to tell us, Khrushchev?
The missiles will not dismantle the sites. The pointless contestants will come home empty-handed, but they still get a pointless trophy for their work. And that basically ends the crisis.
Yeah.
And one of the lasting effects. Well, it doesn't end the crisis. I mean, they still, things will get uglier.
Yeah.
Literally, for the Soviets. And I think it's safe to say, is this probably the ugliest? Is the Cold War the ugliest war?
What, of members?
Yeah, with the leaders. I mean, Kennedy's the one.
I mean, English Civil War.
Fuck
which
yeah,
we
that's
doing,
pretty. That's pretty ugly.
Because it's England versus England.
Yeah, that's ugly squares. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that's pretty. That's an ugly off.
The colonial campaigns, they're normally all over the world with much beautiful women.
Yeah, of course.
Sri Lanka.
Well, there's that thing about how supposedly the most beautiful women come from countries where they've been invaded a lot, and there's lots of different genes. So it's like Middle Eastern women, Persian women. They're like a mix of different, like Italian and Eastern European.
But then you go to the Highlands and Scotland.
They've not been invaded. They've resolutely. Any country that's like, we've never been invaded, you're like, well, you can tell.
You can fucking tell. Everyone, mate.
Yeah. I think maybe
it's embarrassing.
Maybe a little bit of fucking. Maybe a few invading armies would do wonders.
Ukrainian women.
Yes,
they're famously very attractive women. They're getting rolled over Russian
constantly.
Constantly. That is true. Yeah.
But that kind of ends the crisis. But the cold ugly war will continue. East Germans are still trying to get into Berghain. They're being shot, shot at the gates. No, you can't. That's why the bouncers are so strict.
Yeah,
it's because they're actually guards on the tower shooting them for trying to get in.
Yeah, so it's the Berghain bouncers are on the East Berlin. That's where they got the wall. That's the wall.
No, they're on the towers shooting East Berliners.
Sausage first.
Please, I want to come in.
Not wearing black.
It's the only row. There's no photos. Anyway, so the Cold War will continue. Things will get much uglier, but that's for another time. The lasting effect of the Cuban Missile Crisis is that they install a direct phone.
Yeah, the big thing to come out of it
they can do Chinese accents to each other over the phone.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think I'd be able to work this out at the time.
Yeah.
It's easy with retrospect.
Just get a phone.
Do you know what I mean? But you think that seems obvious now, but at the time I probably would have been like, well, the only way we can communicate this is Chinese accent whispers because no one's pitching the phone idea.
There's a story about like the Kennedy's response to the first letter is because he doesn't want to deliver it whatever normally because it will get leaked to the public. He literally gets a UPS boy on a bicycle to deliver it to the ambassador.
Really?
Yeah, just like a little boy.
He gets a courier?
Little boy, yeah, just like just boss man on a bike, just delivery.
What, he's chucking he's doing a paper round?
Anyway, that I think that concludes the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't know why you'd have any questions. We seem to have comprehensively covered it.
We covered it pretty well.
Cuban Missile Crisis, tick. If you'd like a bonus episode, which will land tomorrow on Patreon, then sign up to become a truther. And either way, thanks for listening.
We're having a new bonus episode every week on Patreon.
Every Friday.
And you get ad-free main episodes all at once.
Yes, and the Patreon only ones are pretty wild because we're not sort of subject to any kind of monetization or anything. Anyway, enough of that.
We spread more disinformation.
Exactly. Thanks for listening. Either way, see you next time.